Hello, this is Annette with Project Refine Life. Welcome to my channel. Today we're here to take a little bit deeper look at every little thing you do is magic. I talked about this briefly in my mini deck haul for August, and I have been working with this deck. I put it away and then it came back out. So I'm obviously not done working with the deck, but one of the things that I heard, they were discussing this deck and they stated that they were having problems pairing the deck. So I've came up with a few pairings and then kind of briefly talk a little bit about this deck as I have been working with it. So I wanted to go over it just a little bit more. The deck comes in this nice little box. It's a mass market and has a Carl Jung quote right inside. And the box is very, very nice. I really like the quality of the box. It also comes with this little altar card holder rather, where you just put this together, put it right here, and boom, you've got a little card holder for your card, and you can place it up on your altar or on your desk, anywhere that you see fit. It's a nice little option to have. So say you're traveling and you want to have something up on your wherever you're at, that's a nice little option to have. I have plenty of little card holders, so I'm not going to be utilizing that, but I did want to fold it and see how it, how it worked together, and it's fine. It would work. Not very long, but it would work. This is the guidebook that comes with the deck, and because I hadn't said it before, let me go ahead and just say this now. I forget. All the time I forget. The authors of this deck, authors and creators, are Kali Little and Moria Seal. Both of them created the art, and I'm also thinking both of them had input in regard to the guidebook as well. I did touch upon this a little bit, like I said, in my mini haul, but I wanted to get into it just a little bit more. It's a guidebook that is about 89 pages. It's only numbered up to 77, so it goes in alignment with the cards, with the number of the cards. And there is a few pages beforehand that just gets to let you know a little bit about the deck. And I do want to read you some insight in regard to this because I really think that it's nice. It talks about every little thing you do. It talks about symbology. It talks about the renaming of the court cards. And I do want to read this to you in just a moment because I do like what they say here about how and why they renamed them. But I'll give you a little bit of insight into that in just a moment. It talks about the numerology that is referenced here. And what else? It also gives you a brief history on tarot and card pulls and spreads. It does give you just a few. They're not pictured, but the information is there as far as that is concerned. And then it gets right into the major arcana. And as I had said before, every single card is given the same attention to detail. It doesn't matter if it's a minor or a major. You have a crystal to work with, the mood music, the scent. So the scent thing is pretty interesting because I kind of get it as I'm looking at it. So it's not so much like an essential oil or something of that sort, but an idea to think about that would be the embodiment of that particular card. So on this one, it does has the Nag Champna incense for the magician, but for the Fool, it has freshly cut grass and new books. I really kind of dug on that idea because I love going into bookstores, and particularly used bookstores, and smelling the books. I'm a book sniffer. I am. There's one bookstore in Mesa, downtown Mesa, and it features all of these old books. That's it. That's all they have is old books. And when you walk in there, between the wood of the bookshelves and the books themselves, there is just something so transportive. It's amazing. On the bottom, it also refers to the numerology. Just to let you guys know, I did set up a complete playlist for this deck on my Spotify, so there'll be a link for that below if you want to listen to the playlist, because every single card has mood music. So something that fits the mood, that embodies this particular card with a song. For the most part, I agree with most of their choices. One of the things that really drew me to the deck was the fact that it did have a song that was associated with every single card. The cards themselves are a little bit larger than your average tarot size deck. So they're a little wider and a little bit taller, just slightly, but there is something about this. Now, if you have really small hands, it might be a little difficult for you to work with this deck. I'd say my hands are medium, and I don't have a problem, you know, working with the deck. I don't always riffle shuffle, but I did want to show you that you can actually shuffle this deck. So if you go side, or I know some people go into the corners, and that's a pretty smooth shuffle, especially for me, because I'm not really good at that. I don't really, what do they call it, bridge? I don't really bridge my decks, but that's an example for you of the way that the cards shuffle. The stock, I am not familiar with. Like if I feel something, oh, if it's this cardstock. Lisa Pepez has a great video on it. And go ahead and take a look at that if you want to get more familiar with the type of cardstock. When it's available to me, I always let you guys know, but I'm not quite sure. It feels good though. It doesn't feel like a cardboard type of deck, and then it's matte. So even though you have the black on the back, I'm not picking up any fingerprints on this at all. So I wanted to go through and pair up this deck. Before we get going with that, I just want to show you some of the inspiration for this deck. So one of the creators, I believe it was Kelly, her favorite deck is this deck right here, which is the Lioness Oracle Tarot, and it's a collage deck. So I kind of put it side by side, and I didn't go, you know, comparing each and every card to each other, you know, card for card, but I just wanted to get an overall feel like, okay, I can pick up the inspiration. And she was inspired by the fact that, you know, sometimes you see lions or tigers, or you know, the flowers and the roses, and how each one of these things, and here's some cute little cats, how each one of these things adds to the symbology within the deck. And so I thought that was kind of neat in reading that within the guidebook. And then the other creator, her favorite deck is the Wild Unknown. So I'm assuming that she meant the tarot deck. And she was referring to the contrast, the line work, the lines within themselves, and then also these colors that kind of bring everything to life. So again, you can see so much inspiration between the two. I just have the mini deck here because I had given the full-size deck to my daughter, but she's in college now, so I'm probably just going to take that back. But I love the mini deck. It's so cute. Anyhow, you can see how that inspiration came in from this deck, just within the line work and the color. But what they did here is they really added in some collage work that brought these images to life. So now Callie is actually a tattoo artist. So if you go to her Instagram page, you will see how these images came to life, because if you look at her tattoo art, I mean, it's amazing. She has such beautiful, beautiful tattoo work. She has one with Baba Yaga's home, and it's just gorgeous. I mean, there's so much detail. And in looking at this, I thought that these might have been images already, but no, this is the work of one of the creators. They worked on this deck for 4 years. They started when, of course, the lovely pandemic hit, and it took them 4 years to create this deck. So I have to say that I am pretty impressed by the readings and by the guidebook. The guidebook kind of reveals, uh-oh, look at that. You see that? Uh-oh, I think that was me though. I don't think it was because of the deck itself. I think that's me. Luckily, this deck is not that expensive that I can't order another one, but I do think that was me. I may have worked this book a little bit too much, and maybe I can just glue that and it'll come back into place. I'm hoping I can. I don't like it when my guidebooks fall apart, and I'm usually very careful, so I don't know. If you have this deck and you see any wear and tear within the guidebook, please let me know, because I am curious. But I do think it was me, because it's just on the bottom, and see, that's where I would have really pushed it to open. Getting back to the guidebook, I really like the way that they describe the card itself, and I can see how working with this deck and reading their interpretation of the card in some instances really brings you into a different mindset when it comes to different cards or looking at things differently, which I have really enjoyed so far. Now, one of the things that I mentioned before was why our court cards have new names. Now, I'm not going to get into each and every one, but I am going to go ahead and read to you the court card. So the page is renamed The Apprentice, someone in pursuit of growth or gaining new opportunities for educational progress. The Champion has been renamed from the Knight, someone who has been through great training and has likely risen in rank with much success. The Queen has been renamed as the Oracle, someone who has done internal work to seek deep wisdom. Each one of these goes on a little bit more, but I'm just reading to you just the little tip of it. And then the King has been renamed as the Elder, a peaceful and powerful sage who has lived a full life. So I do like the renaming. I like that they addressed it as to why they renamed it and their feeling about the energy of that specific card. So I like that. I really do like that. Let's go ahead and start looking at some pairings. So I'm going to just split this in half. I'm going to start from the most obvious. So since the inspiration for these cards was the Wild Unknown, I decided to pick the Pocket Animal Spirit and try this next to it. I only have the little mini one in this one, but can you see how cute that is? I say cute, but I'm referring to this. But can you see how well that works? You have the line work, you have that energy that's flowing through within the line work that Kim Krans is so good at doing, plus this color that's bursting out and kind of pushing into your tarot deck. I haven't worked with these two personally, not yet. I will be, but I do like the way that they look together. Now, one thing, I hadn't even thought about pulling this particular deck because this is animals, and I kind of got a thing, it's just within myself, that I don't like to work with an animal deck alongside another animal deck, but I might be changing my tune for that one. So let's see, the Wild Unknown Archetypes deck. is here. And to be honest, I kind of put these two together just a little while ago, and I thought, yeah, that works. But I kind of like the animal spirit deck a little bit more with it, but it would definitely work. Look at that. I think, you know, they're both collage decks, and they both have that pop of color. They both have the serious lines and shadowing. And I think that they would be really well together. I'm not even gonna go there, but there's also the alchemy deck, which of course, you know, according to just what these decks look like, would of course work very well together. So I'll just give you a little sneak peek right there. I think that they would work really well together. And I think I am going to give these two a try, because I really enjoy the alchemy deck. That's an awesome deck. Okay, when it comes to working on a more spiritual, more grounded level, not that reading, you know, your tarot and your oracle isn't in itself grounded, but oh my goodness, did you see that? But in a manner in which you're really trying to ground into a meditative practice. This particular deck, which is a mudras deck, this is the Mudras for Awakening the Five Elements. I do like the idea of these two together. And some people would think, well, but Annette, it's just a mudras deck and it gets into the mudras. However, if you look at the guidebook for this particular deck, you'll see that it does have, of course, your key words. So this mudra comes with this key word as your focal point. You can take it and then go ahead and try the mudra if you'd like to, which is probably what I'm going to do. But also it gets into the assist, the benefits, the element, the focus. I am open to receive calmness throughout my body and mind. And then it gets into the actual practice of it. But within the explanation of the practice, it gets into a little bit more about how you might be feeling or what you might be able to question or ponder within that moment where you're taking it to explore that specific mudra. And I think that that within itself can supply some really deep readings. This is a mass market deck, so I chose this one to come out because I wanted to give an alternative for this deck, which is the Yantra Wisdom. I love this deck. This deck is amazing. I love it. I love the artwork. I love the guidebook. It's sweet and it's simple within this little guidebook that comes with the deck. This is by Chanti Perez, but there is something within the color palette that is really amazing here. But this is an indie deck, so if you're going to spend a little bit more, then yeah, I like these two together. Just the pops of color and the overall energy, I think, are absolutely stunning together. But like I said, I wanted to give an alternative to this indie deck, so that's why I brought out the Mudras deck, because I felt like the colors and the overall energy might match somewhat. Okay, let's get into a reading that can provide you a little bit of a kick in the butt. And this is the Wisdom de Alma. This is a 44 card affirmation deck. And this deck I really like. I don't like too many affirmation decks, but this one I like because even though it has things like I am loved, I am worthy, I am diosa, she does offer on the back a few more words on the back, and they're not all like sugar and spice. Like, she does get into a few things that kind of kick you in your butt and say, hey, let's start moving along here. So even if you turned it around and just put these two together in that manner, I think that they would work well as, you know, as an alternative. But I do like the vibrance between the two. I do like the idea that this might inspire you to be a little bit more creative, to find a little bit more power, a little bit more of that kick in the butt, like I said earlier. So for that, I thought those two might go really well together. Now going back to an indie deck, I have the Song of the Grandmothers. You know what? I didn't even check. I don't know if this is still available. I'm assuming, oh, that's like a bad word. I'm assuming that it is, but this one. Okay, so now we're gonna turn the whole reading into something that is very guided. So our ancestors are watching us. They're coming in, they're providing love, they're providing compassion. And this imagery and these words that come from this deck are supportive and guiding and loving and compassionate. It gives you ideas to expand and to be uplifted. And I just love the overall colors together. I think it is so darn pretty. I did try the Prairie Majesty alongside this deck, but this is the one that I prefer with this tarot deck. I just think that this is an outstanding pairing. Okay, another deck. I have the mass market edition, but this is available in, I'm sorry, I have the indie edition, but it is available in mass market, and that is the Dirt Gems. This is one of my favorite decks ever, and I love the combination of the pops of color. I love that this is grounded in this black, and I think there's a few that are like blue and brown. Yeah, see, there's a few in there. But again, I just feel like the energy of them is so supportive. And Dirt Gems, you know, Dirt Gems is a very spiritual deck. It really is not like, and I always say this because it's a reminder that this is not something that you're going to go forage with. This is not something that, hey, let's go make a tea. This is about the spiritual meaning of the use of that particular herb or plant and how you utilize this in a spiritual meaning, in a deep ancestral meaning, and how to get the most out of working with the energy, not the actual plant so much, but the energy of that particular plant in order to guide you to a different place. And I think that these two are fantastic together. Look at them. They're great. So again, that's mass market, and if you have your indie version, there it is, but no fear because it's a mass market deck. And you know what? Usually I'm really not that concerned about whether what I'm sharing is mass market or indie, but in this specific video, I felt like I needed to do it. All right. This one here is the Spirit Animal Wisdom. And this deck, again, another animal deck, but I feel like this is another way of coming into the healing and keeping that animal energy together. Like I said, I usually don't do animals with animals when it comes to mixing decks, but I think that the overall energy of both is good. I think that it would work together. Now, as an alternative to the Spirit Animal Wisdom deck, I do have, by the same creator, the Earth Alchemy Oracle. And I like this one. I feel like the art from the animal deck goes along, you know, with the cohesiveness a little bit better within these two, but I like how this one offers earth energy as far as using crystals. And so again, here it does mention the elements, and within the guidebook here, it's talking about the elements as well. So I feel like you have a lot of earth energy overall here when it comes to flora, fauna, and these beautiful gifts from our earth. And so that you could really work with it in that manner. In here as well is the mention of what to do with it. So there's a guide, there's a keyword on each and every card. So you have the name of what you're working with here, so garnet and lady's mantle, and it is something supportive for womb healing. And then it does have a little phrase here, sexual power and sovereignty. So I think that these two would make a really nice pairing. Have I worked with them together? No. Am I? Definitely. This deck, I was kind of afraid when I brought this deck into my collection. I thought, I don't know how many things I can pair it up with. I had one in mind specifically. And I am just really impressed with how many decks I'm able to pair up with it. Okay, this is the deck, guys. This is the deck that I thought, oh my goodness, these two are going to be wonderful together. And they are. So this is the Poesis. Guys, look at this. Look at the back. Oh my goodness. If this is important to you, then look at this. Oh my Lord. This is the second edition. The first edition was white with black, and then here you have this beige with black. And these two are beautiful together. Absolutely beautiful together. I have worked with these two together. I really love them together. I think that they are fantastic. The energy that is created by working with these two, the Magician, Open, and the Apprentice of Cups, I just think is wonderful. The Poesis, I really love it. I love the poetry. As I've told everybody before, this is one of those decks that I will make a copy of the poem and I will take it to my classes and I will read it to them, and it becomes pretty much the theme of my yoga class. I just think that these two go hand in hand together. They are beautiful. Okay, I am going to share one more deck that I have worked with alongside this deck, but I'm just going to start by saying that at this time it's out of print. I don't know if it's coming back, but if you have it, try it together if you have both of these decks, and I like them. The Begin Oracle is one of my go-tos. I really love this deck. I think that there's so much within this deck. It's so rich. It's so powerful. It just speaks so well. Oh my goodness. You guys, see this? He was outside my window the other day and I did a whole journal entry on him. This is the female because it has the bands right there. But I'm so excited. You know what? I completely forgot. I need to take a copy of this and put this in my journal because my goodness, yes. Anyhow, I know I'm so excited and you guys are like, what is she talking about? And at the end of the month, then you'll see within my journal what I'm talking about. But look at these two together. Look at that. So as you can see, there are a lot of options when it comes to working with this deck, which, as I stated earlier, a real pleasant surprise for me because I was kind of stumped when I initially saw it. I thought, what is that going to pair with? And then all of a sudden it was like the Poesis. So that was the only deck that I had in mind when I brought this thing home. And then, and then the light bulbs went on. I wrote down a bunch of decks and I brought them out and I'm like, these do not work. What was I thinking of? And then I did it again and a bunch of them came to mind. Okay. This is the tarot deck that I think, in addition to the Wild Unknown, of course, but this is the tarot deck that I thought if you like to work with tarot and tarot, this might be an option for you. So this is the Mind's Eye Tarot. And I do like that every single card here is a person and every single card here is not. With the exception, there's a statue in here. I can't remember what card it is, but there's a statue in there, and of course that's a person. So, but otherwise, you know, you have a balance of energy, which I think is fantastic. Here we go, right here, the Elder of Swords. So as you can see, I mean, look at that. I think those look good together. And this is a deck that I've kind of had problems pairing up, but now that I have these two together and I have all these other decks out, I might have to do a playing with pairs session for myself when it comes to the Mind's Eye Tarot, because they might work with some of these decks that I already have out. So that's it, guys. That is my my deep playing with pairs. I know this was a lot of decks, but I wanted to do this because, for one, I've had a really good time working with this deck. There are some cards in here, I am not going to lie, that stumped me a little bit. I'm like, how does that pertain to the RWS? But there's symbology in it within the cards. So one of them I really had to do some digging. I think it was the, and it was in regard to a comment that was left on one of my videos about this deck, and one of them was the slug, and I really had to dig in to the slug itself and the way that it operates and what its characteristics were in order to tie the two together. But even just looking at the art itself and what it's offering and what it has available within the illustrations or the collage work of this, I think that there's enough in here that you can go on. You know, Tegan talked about this deck. I saw her video and she talked about, not this deck, this particular card. And she has her beautiful little leopard gecko. And I used to have a leopard gecko. And I used to have a lot of lizards at one point. Lizards and frogs. I love lizards and frogs. But the leopard gecko was my absolute favorite. I loved my leopard gecko. He was so chill. He was so calm. And he would just get out and chill with me. And anyhow. Long story short, but I like it. I like this deck. I'm still going to be doing some more work with it. I like that you see here how some images are drawings and then others are just, you know, pictures, and they're all combined in here. I think it's brilliant. I really like it. I love the color within the deck. I love the life within the deck. It makes me feel happy working with this deck. I don't know if that's something that you can experience or have experienced in working with the deck, but it makes me feel happy. It brings in good vibes. I like it. So that is the Every Little Thing You Do is Magic Tarot deck, and those were my playing with pairs. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. From my heart to yours. I will see you later.